In this module, we will go over the 9 different dialects spoken in America. In this vast geography of the United States, the English language is spoken in a wide range of ways depending on regional, ethnic, linguistic, and cultural origins. Most of these dialects are concentrated in the East Coast, so we will start from the Northeast and then move down to the South. The 9 dialects spoken in America are East New England dialect, New York City dialect, Upper North dialect, Lower North dialect, Upper South dialect, Lower South dialect, General American dialect, African American Vernacular English, and Hispanic American English. Now let's try to find them out in the map. There are plenty of maps available online to point out where these dialects are located. Please try and verify them on your own. Let's go over this New England dialect. This includes states that lie to the east of Connecticut River in Massachusetts and Connecticut, and then east of the Green Mountains in Vermont. The pronunciation of this East New England dialect resembles, in a way, standard British English. The most outstanding feature of this dialect is non-rhoticity. Rhoticity means the pronunciation of the R sound. As we know, British English is famous for keeping the R sound silent at the end of a word if it is the last consonant or if it precedes a vowel. This dialect has the non-rhoticity of the consonant R sound except before a vowel. For example, car instead of car, father instead of father, smart instead of smart, Lord instead of Lord, bark instead of bark, tour instead of tour in General American English, darker instead of darker, which would be in General American English, etc. However, if this R occurs before a vowel, it is pronounced just like in the British English. For example, Harry, Mary, roast, rest, royal, etc. Another aspect of Eastern New England English is the retention of a rounded vowel, which in other dialects of American English is more like a sound. For example, hot, top, lot, shot, pot, etc. For example, the sentence, the water is hot, will be the water is hot in General American English. Now let's look at the New York City dialect. The New York City pronunciation goes along the lines of the Eastern New England accent that we just talked about. The non-rhoticity of the consonant R sound remains the same, except before a vowel. Examples are liar, fire, doer, barter, starter, and so on. This rhotic R is pronounced if it occurs before a vowel. The same way, Robert, real, furor, brave, lecturer, wanderer. We should also remember that there is also such a thing as social class associated with the pronunciation. The main difference of the New York City accent from Eastern New England is the way cot and cot are phonemically contrasted because of the glottal R vowel sound in Eastern New England, which is unrounded in New York City accent. Just the way in hot and top before voiceless stops, and is almost always unrounded in New York City accent. More examples are lot, shot, pot, which would be lot, short, pot in Eastern New England accent. Now let's look at the Upper North dialect. This covers western New England, upstate New York, and the basin of the Great Lakes. They share the features of pronunciation that come from the original settlement and the spread of the population westward through the water route of the lakes. The linguistic atlas of the upper Midwest shows that traces of the boundary can be extended beyond the Mississippi into Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, although it is less distinct than the boundary in the Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. The upper north differs from the East New England accent due to the rhoticity, again, such as in doctor, mother, father, star, and part. So we can clearly hear the rhotic R sound, unlike in Eastern New England dialect and New York dialect. Another distinctive feature of this dialect is the vowel eh in words such as ask, mask, task, bask, etc. Lower North. Let's look at this one. Similar to the upper north, the lower north also preserves the rhoticity in all positions. For example, master, mother, father, start, part, etc. In the New York City accent, it would be like master, mother, father, start, part, etc. The lower north dialect includes the eastern part of Pennsylvania below the northern Midland line, the southern half of New Jersey, the northern half of Delaware, and the adjacent parts of Maryland. Another feature of this dialect is unrounded vowel. For example, hot, lot, cot, boss, etc. So to pronounce words such as John, lot, palm, barn, law, frost, dog, fog, they would be similar. Now let's look at the Upper South dialect. This area includes all of West Virginia except the counties bordering Pennsylvania and Maryland. This has the mountain regions of Virginia and North Carolina, most of Kentucky and Tennessee, with a small portion of these states to the north and the south. The Upper South dialect extends west of Mississippi through southern Mississippi, Missouri, and northern Arkansas into the Texas and blends with the Plantation South dialect. The rhotic R is articulated as in the lower north. Southern drawl begins to be seen from this point. It is the typical accent of this deep south where vowels are elongated and diphthongized. For example, the E sound, the phoneme E pronounced in set would be pronounced as sayat, a very mild glide, a schwa after the E sound. And another example is let. Let would be pronounced as let. And met would be pronounced as meat. A very slight, mild, unnoticeable glide occurs there, right after the a sound before the consonant. And now, besides, as said before, rhoticity is maintained the same way. For example, in words such as master, mother, father, start, part, etc. Now let's go to the Lower South dialect. The Lower South dialect is spread in a large area. This includes the old plantation country. It covers the Virginia Piedmont and the Low Country near the coast of South Carolina. In many parts, the dialect is non-rhotic, such as in ka, father, smart, load, bark, tour, darker. Darker would be darker, but now it is darker here. And this would be just like Eastern New England accent or New York City accent. And again, just like above, certain new pure vowels are diphthongized or elongated. For example, let a vowel is diphthongized, is pronounced as let. Mat would be pronounced as mat. Certain consonants are weakened, which is interesting about this. For example, last would be last. So this t consonant would be absent. Kept would be kept. Find would be fine only. Now, General American. General American is regarded to be a dialect spoken by a majority of population and not necessarily tied to a geographical, regional, ethnic, or cultural identity. After the Second World War, the dialect became an American identity, a departure from British accent. This general American dialect was promoted and authenticated by media, radio, and other broadcasts as well. Now, some examples of this dialect would be the use of ah sound, like fast, path. They are pronounced the way they are, flat sound. English vowels, for example, hot, top, etc., are unrounded, and they would be hot, top, etc. And rhotic R is clearly heard in all positions. So mother, father, daughter would be just clearly pronounced. And we have examples like in car, father, smart, lord, bark, tour, darker. Next, we have is African American Vernacular English. It's regarded to be the dialect spoken by many African Americans in the South and in northern cities. This dialect maintains a non-rhoticity, just like in New York accent. Car, father, smart, lord, bark, tour, darker. Certain consonants occurring at the last phoneme are weakened, just like above. Last, kept, fine, instead of find, or kept, or last. This deletion occurs even more in this dialect. For example, lift up, instead of lift up, lift up. Or instead of man, man. Over the nasalized air sound. Instead of boot, you say boo. And also another feature of this dialect is the way the and the are interchanged. For example, instead of that, dat. Or instead of thin, it's pronounced as ten. In the case of singing, the gerund ing form is singing. Instead of he is tall, he tall. Instead of they are running, they running. Instead of they are usually running or they usually run, it would be like, they be running. Instead of he did it or he's already done it, it would be like, he done. Or instead of he talks, it would be like he talk. So certain consonants or certain phonemes are dropped. Now I have the last dialect to talk about, this Hispanic American English. The speakers of this dialect have a range of degrees of command. Some of the speakers are fluently bilingual, some are more proficient in English than Spanish, some are more Spanish than English, and some are monolingual, pretty much like any other dialect of American English. Let's look at some of the vocabulary that have been brought into English. City names: Buena Vista, El Paso, Las Vegas, San Antonio, San Francisco, Santa Cruz, etc. Food and drinks: nachos, burrito, margarita, jalapeno, oregano, salsa, tequila, vanilla. Thanks for your time watching and listening. See you again in the next video.